They say mental strength is resilience, endurance, discipline. But Nietzsche didn't want you resilient. He wanted you dangerous, because there's a cost to true strength of mind, and it's not one most are willing to pay. It demands more than persistence. It demands the death of comfort, the annihilation of certainty, and a confrontation with a truth so raw it blisters the soul. Your suffering is your only path to becoming, and if that disgusts you, you're not ready. Modernity breeds fragility by design. Every app you open, every algorithm you scroll, every pill you pop, it all conspires to shelter you from discomfort, from contradiction, from pain. But Nietzsche, the philosopher of the hammer, wasn't interested in comfort. He believed only those willing to be shattered could grow strong. One must still have chaos in oneself, he wrote, to be able to give birth to a dancing star. Not order, not calm, chaos. In a world obsessed with healing, Nietzsche introduces a heresy, that not all wounds should close. That strength is not in escaping your demons, but in devouring them. He called it the path of the Übermensch, not a superhero, but a human beyond morality, beyond herd values, beyond the need for approval or pity, a terrifying autonomy. Consider this: most people don't want to be free. They want to be safe. They speak of boundaries, of triggers, of toxic energy. But safety is not freedom. It's dependence. The more protected your psyche, the more fragile it becomes. Nietzsche knew this. He wrote that he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But how many today even dare ask themselves why they suffer, let alone welcome the suffering as sacred? Mental strength, in Nietzschean terms, is the capacity to endure contradiction without disintegration. It's not about emotional regulation. It's about spiritual confrontation, a war with your own values. And this is what breaks most people. Take Edward, a high-performing executive who came into therapy after his fourth failed marriage. He blamed his partners, the culture, his childhood trauma. But the truth was simpler. He was addicted to being understood. He needed constant affirmation. The moment he met contradiction, he collapsed. Nietzsche would have called this slave morality, the morality of the weak, who define goodness as what comforts them and evil as what challenges them. Edward's need for validation wasn't love. It was cowardice, masquerading as connection. To be mentally strong is to kill the part of you that begs to be liked. It's to look in the mirror and see a stranger and not flinch. Nietzsche's will to power wasn't a lust for domination, but the courage to create values in a world where God is dead. And creating values means betraying the ones you were given. This betrayal is violent. It tears you from your tribe. Nietzsche was explicit. Every profound spirit needs a mask, because if you show your true face too soon, they'll crucify you. He admired those who could lie with grace, who could play along until they no longer needed the herd. Mental strength, then, is strategic solitude. It's the ability to wait, to conceal, to resist the narcotic of belonging. One fMRI study at UCLA revealed that social rejection activates the same brain regions as physical pain. We are hardwired to fear exclusion. But Nietzsche invites you to choose exclusion, to prefer it. Because only in isolation can you hear your own becoming. Only in solitude can you encounter the abyss and smile. Simone Weil, the mystic philosopher, once wrote that attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. But Nietzsche would have gone further. Attention is your last form of freedom. Mental strength is the refusal to outsource your gaze, to reclaim your attention from screens, from narratives, from the endless noise of the crowd, and turn it inward to face what most cannot bear, the self unfiltered. This is not mindfulness. This is not calm awareness. This is violent clarity. Freud might have called it the return of the repressed. Jung called it shadow integration. But Nietzsche, he called it dancing on the edge of madness. Because to see yourself clearly, without anesthesia, without lies, is a form of madness. And the mentally strong don't run from it. They learn to dance. Mental strength is not about optimization. It's about transfiguration, about letting parts of you die so something stronger, more ruthless, more alive can take their place. You don't get there through therapy alone, or journaling, or gratitude. You get there by burning in the fire of your contradictions and emerging, not healed, but forged. Mental strength, in the Nietzschean sense, is not a virtue. It's a threat. To embody it is to become a rupture in the moral fabric of society, because true strength doesn't comply. It doesn't soothe. It disturbs. And that's why it's so rare. Let's talk about Anna. Anna was a psychology student who once dreamed of helping others heal, but something kept gnawing at her. The lectures felt hollow, the diagnoses too tidy. She couldn't shake the feeling that the system wasn't designed to heal anyone. It was designed to pacify them. She read Freud, then Jung, then Nietzsche, and what she found terrified her. Most people don't want healing. They want permission to stay broken in beautiful ways. They want to be told their pain is sacred, not that it might be self-inflicted. Anna began to see the truth. Modern psychology, at its worst, weaponizes empathy to maintain weakness. It anesthetizes the psyche instead of sharpening it. Nietzsche would have called it a soft tyranny, the tyranny of kindness, of institutional compassion, where suffering is pathologized, never philosophized. In the genealogy of morals, Nietzsche dismantles the modern obsession with guilt. He traces its origins to slave morality, where the weak, unable to enact power directly, moralize their impotence. The result? A culture that sanctifies victimhood, where strength is oppressive and fragility is divine. This inversion is not just psychological, it's cultural. He wrote, "The sick are the greatest danger for the healthy. The weaker, not the stronger, are the ones who threaten life itself, not because they are weak, but because they refuse to admit it. They dress up their fear as ethics, their avoidance as virtue, and society applauds. This isn't strength. This is a cult of avoidance. Think of the boredom principle. When the soul is deprived of real challenges, it starts to rot." Nietzsche knew that boredom is not mere inactivity. It's a spiritual scream, a sign that the will to power has been sedated, and yet modern life is engineered to keep you bored in sophisticated ways, swiping, binging, numbing. Your will is siphoned into dead rituals, into safe rebellions, into simulated passion. The truly mentally strong are bored by boredom. They seek real danger, not physical, but existential. They crave thresholds, transformations, betrayals, and above all, the terror of being utterly alone with their thoughts. This is where the eroticization of refusal comes in. Nietzsche didn't write about seduction directly, but he understood its structure. What is most denied becomes most desirable. The Obermensch, by refusing to play the game of approval, becomes irresistibly magnetic, because he's not negotiating his existence, he's declaring it. And in a world starved of real authority, such defiance becomes erotic. David Buss's research into mate retention strategies reveals a harsh truth. People are drawn not to availability, but to value scarcity. The mentally strong are not always likable, but they are unforgettable because they are rooted in something deeper than personality. They emanate a kind of existential gravity, and that gravity disrupts people. Michael, a charismatic entrepreneur, learned this the hard way. He spent years building his empire on charm. He was a master of persuasion, empathy, likability, but he was also hollow. The moment someone challenged his worldview, he collapsed into rage or retreat. Underneath the charisma was a child begging not to be abandoned. Nietzsche would have diagnosed Michael with the worst affliction of all: resentment disguised as love, because he hadn't yet dared to love himself without needing to be loved in return. And without that sovereignty, his mental strength was just performative endurance. To be truly strong, Nietzsche demands you kill the child within you that begs to be spared, not with cruelty, but with clarity. You must become your own parent, your own God, your own executioner. The world cannot give you the rite of passage you crave. You must invent it. This is why Nietzsche's most terrifying idea is also his most liberating: eternal recurrence. Imagine living your life, every detail, over and over again, eternally. Could you bear it? More, could you affirm it? The weak recoil at this thought. They live lives they hope to escape. The strong, they live lives they would choose again. This is the final test of mental strength, not how you handle adversity, but whether your life is worth reliving. You can see why most can't handle Nietzsche. His philosophy is not a comfort, it's a crucifixion. It exposes every lie you tell yourself in order to keep moving. It asks you to sit still and watch your masks burn. And then it demands, now build something new from the ashes. Modern neuroscience has begun catching up. A groundbreaking study at the University of Zurich found that the brain becomes more resilient, not through avoidance of pain, but through deliberate cognitive confrontation with trauma. This echoes Nietzsche's eternal truth: what does not kill me makes me stronger, not because suffering ennobles, but because it clarifies. The Stanford prison experiment, controversial as it is, revealed another brutal insight. Most people will conform to power roles instantly, without resistance. Mental strength, therefore, is not just about resisting pain. It's about resisting the seduction of obedience. The mentally strong know when to say no, not out of rebellion, but out of self-authorship. This is the defiance paradox. The more you resist the world, the more it wants you, but only if your resistance is authentic. Performative rebellion is a mask. True defiance is quiet, unapologetic. It simply refuses to kneel. Let's be clear. Nietzsche's vision of mental strength is not only rare, it is dangerous. Not because it breeds destruction, but because it threatens the foundation of everything built on comfort, conformity, and consensus. To become mentally strong in the Nietzschean sense is to become untouchable, not by hiding, but by transcending the emotional economy of modern society. The average person today lives inside an invisible architecture of psychological dependence. Their emotions are outsourced, their opinions algorithmically curated, their sense of self a collage of likes, affirmations, diagnoses, and borrowed beliefs. And yet they speak of authenticity. They chase alignment. But how can you align what you've never owned? Nietzsche calls this the tragedy of the herd. The masses don't live. They imitate. They do not form beliefs. They absorb them passively, like sponges in a flood. Mental strength begins when imitation ends. When you cut the umbilical cord to collective approval and decide, I will think thoughts no one has given me permission to think. This is why Nietzsche admired the outsider, not the rebel who screams for attention, but the one who vanishes into the desert, the one who becomes a riddle to himself, the one who refuses to be seen until he has something worth showing. He knew that becoming demands retreat, not a retreat into safety, but into the wilderness of thought. This wilderness is terrifying. In it, you lose your gods, your ideologies, your moral compass, but only in that void can something truly new emerge. This is the essence of Nietzsche's philosophizing with a hammer, to destroy the idols within, not out of hatred, but to make room for your own truth. Let's go deeper. The modern obsession with mental health often hides a subtle tyranny, the tyranny of normalization. If you feel too much, you're diagnosed. If you feel too little, you're medicated. The goal? Equilibrium. But Nietzsche didn't want equilibrium. He wanted volcanic imbalance. He believed that every great spirit is driven by a divine excess, an unbearable tension between what is and what could be. This tension is not an illness, it's a calling. Lacan, the psychoanalyst who weaponized language, once said that desire is structured like a language. But Nietzsche would have gone further. Desire is a furnace, and the mentally strong don't regulate their desire. They ride it until it breaks them or transforms them. This is where most people break. They want desire without risk. They want transformation without death. But Nietzsche knew the one who cannot let parts of themselves die will never become more than a reflection of their past fears. Let's return to the hedonic treadmill, the psychological phenomenon where humans return to a stable level of happiness despite major positive or negative events. It's a scientific echo of Nietzsche's eternal recurrence. No matter what you gain, you return to your baseline. But what if the baseline itself is sick? What if your normal is merely socially calibrated despair? The mentally strong don't chase happiness. They chase intensity, depth, meaning, and they understand that to reach it, they must break the treadmill, not run on it faster. This is why Nietzsche said, "He who climbs upon the highest mountains laughs at all tragedies, real or imaginary." The mountain is not a metaphor for success. It is a metaphor for perspective, and the price of that perspective is solitude. Simone Weil wrote, "To be rooted is perhaps the most important and least recognized need of the human soul. But what if that root is poisoned?" Nietzsche forces you to ask, what if the very thing grounding you, your beliefs, your traditions, your relationships, is what's suffocating you? The mentally strong cut their own roots to grow in their own direction. This is why frame control matters. In every human interaction, there is a frame, a dominant perspective that shapes reality. Most people adapt to the strongest frame in the room, but the mentally strong create frames. They shape conversations without shouting. They bend perception without begging. They are the still point in a chaotic world. It's not magic. It's not manipulation. It's metaphysical authority. You see it in the woman who doesn't rush to fill silence, in the man who says no without explanation, in the artist who creates without asking for an audience. They don't need to dominate you. They just refuse to need you. And this terrifies people, because it reveals how much of their self-worth is conditional. Mental strength, ultimately, is not about grit or willpower. It's about being dangerous to the right things, to lies, to delusions, to the forces that keep people small. And that danger is not explosive. It's silent, like a lion watching, like a truth no one wants to name. This is why Nietzsche's philosophy is not popular. It cannot be commodified. It cannot be repackaged into 10 steps or 12 rules, because it demands you walk naked into the fire of your becoming and come out unrecognizable. So here is the brutal truth. Most people will never be mentally strong, not because they are weak, but because they are comfortable, because the idea of tearing down their borrowed beliefs is more terrifying than living a life half-felt. They cling to identities like lifeboats, unaware that the ocean beneath them is the only place they'll ever taste freedom. Nietzsche didn't offer comfort. He offered exposure, to strip away the illusions, to face the unbearable, and in that confrontation, to awaken the force that modern life tries to suppress at every turn, your becoming. He didn't want you functional. He wanted you formidable. And the path there, it's not found in self-help books or morning routines. It's found in rupture, in solitude, in the slow, painful process of becoming someone the world does not recognize. Because you no longer recognize the world's definitions, you will lose people. You will lose narratives. You will lose every soft lie that once made you feel safe. But in their place, you will gain something that cannot be taken. A self forged in fire, not inherited through fear. If you're waiting for permission to become that person, it will never come. No one will crown you. No one will come to save you. There is only the voice within, the one you've been silencing for years, whispering what you already know, that your time pretending is over. If this shattered something inside you, don't look away. Subscribe. We're building a new language for the truths no one wants to name.